Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release Terrifier 3. Yes, I finally sat down and watched Terrifier 3. And great that this is a holiday horror film because we just don't have enough holiday horror films. So for all the Art the Clown fans out there, you now have one you can watch every December, potentially on Christmas if you really want to. So if you're into that thing. But I had not reviewed the first Terrifier film or All Hallows Eve on my channel, but I have reviewed Terrifier 2. I saw that actually at the drive-in, my local drive-in, which was a fun time. So I felt very similar with Terrifier 1 as I did, with Terrifier 3 as I did with Terrifier 2. So if you've seen that review, you'll kind of understand where I'm going to probably go with this review. But you know, Damien Leone keeping it very on par. You know, all these films are kind of like the same level for me. But anyway, in a no spoiler way, I'm obviously going to talk about that, what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film in this review. So again, written and directed by Damien Leone, who did All Hallows Eve, Terrifier, Terrifier 2, and a film called Frankenstein vs. the Mummy, which I would like to check that out at some point. The budget for this film was $2 million, and internationally, it grossed $87 million. That is so impressive, and I love it for horror in general. I love it for Damien Leone and everyone involved with this film. I just love to see, especially like indie horror films doing well. So how this franchise has grown, I'm all for it. I don't love the franchise personally. It's not like my favorite. I enjoy aspects of it, mainly the practical effects, because, you know, that's something I'm into, but yeah. I did rent this through Fandango at home for $6.35, so quite cheap for a viewing of a film of this magnitude and popularity. So quick synopsis, I don't want to give away too much. It's basically focuses a lot on Art the Clown, but also characters like Sienna being the main character who popped up in Terrifier 2, who's become kind of the main person we're going to be following. I assume maybe for the entire franchise, really, which who knows how much longer that's going on. I think he had said that he wanted to end it after 4, but I think he's also kind of indicated after putting this one out that, you know, maybe I have some more in me, so we could keep going. But I assume that he'll probably keep going back to it until he gets way too bored of it, or just kind of like runs out of ideas, or just wants to do something else potentially. I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, this is a holiday horror film. It takes place on Christmas, and it's very Christmassy. I love the fact that they throw in a lot of Santa Claus stuff, people in Santa Claus outfits, a lot of Christmas trees, a lot of Christmas lights. Love that. Love that they're throwing so much into it, because there's so many holiday horror films that it's like they're just set on that time or around that time, but you don't see any of like the festivities or any of the decorations or any of that stuff. So they steeped it a lot in the holidays. So it's just basically picking up where Terrifier 2 left off, pretty much following Sienna, who is now kind of mentally having struggles dealing with what she went through in Terrifier 2 and trying to make it by, and her brother as well. And then Art the Clown is showing up, and Art the Clown with another individual, and you'll see what I mean if you watch the film. And that's pretty much it. You know, Art is up to his typical hijinks of doing very over-the-top things to people with the kills, and the practical effects are phenomenal and so in depth and detailed that these films are not for everyone. There are a lot of people who probably cannot handle these. It's for the gore hounds, like myself and others. But anyway, the opening scene of this film brings you right back to where what Art the Clown is all about, but with that nice holiday twist to it. So I like that they're kind of doing different settings as far as that's concerned. Obviously, the practical effects are awesome. You know, everyone going into this film must have been assuming, if they'd seen the other films, the practical effects are going to be amazing. The kills are going to be very grandiose. They're going to be outstanding. Check and check. You know, that is how the film goes. Also, a lot of people who have seen the films already before will be like, going into a film like this will be like, oh, David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, is going to do a phenomenal job again. Yes, check again. Does a great job. So good at doing the miming, since Art the Clown doesn't talk. He's just got this very awesome ability to just convey, without talking, psychotic glee. And that's what the main characteristic of Art the Clown is for me, is just psychotic glee in everything he does. And it's this weird kind of mix of like really messed up and scary and sadistic, but also like kind of like charming and funny at the same time. So it makes you feel just very conflicted. And it makes for an interesting atmosphere to the film of just like, man, this is really dark and messed up, but it's also like seeming very tongue-in-cheek and like dark comedy-ish, with tons of blood and gore. Early on, there's something new about Art the Clown that is introduced, which I like. I like that we get a little bit of extra kind of, it's not necessarily backstory on Art the Clown, just learning more about who Art the Clown is and what Art the Clown can do. What's his deal? Like, is he like an actual person? Is he a little more supernatural? Like, adding on to those types of things, like answering some more questions. Well, I don't know if anyone really had questions about this stuff, but adding to the mythos that is Art the Clown, adding to this slasher icon at this point. There's something new they do some timeline jumping in the beginning, and that is they basically start like with a Christmas scene, and then they go I think 5 years in the past, and then they go present day. So it was a little bit confusing at first, because I'm like, okay, how, like, what are they trying to do with kind of jumping around like this? It didn't really end up mattering that much, honestly, but just know that they do some jumping around in the beginning. Overall, I do think this is the best acting that there's been in the franchise in this film, which is great, because I know for Terrifier 2, I was kind of like, the acting's like not the greatest, which, you know, I don't really assume that it will be for lower budget independent films, but I think the acting is pretty good in this film. And I will say that specifically Lauren Lavera, who plays Sienna, I think her in particular, I've seen a decent amount of growth between Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3 with her acting ability. So she's doing quite well, and I'm very interested to see where she goes from here. Any scenes not involving Art the Clown are overly long and boring to me, unfortunately. Leone keeps trying to make the franchise seem like it's kind of something that it's not, in a sense. Like, everyone's showing up for the most part for Art the Clown, because it's a very iconic, very interesting, very enjoyable character, looking for the practical effects, the blood, the gut, the gore, and the ideas behind all these very interesting, impressive kills that he ends up setting up. And that's what people are mainly there for. They're not really there for the side story stuff with Sienna and her brother and these other characters that end up popping up. But he ends up spending so much time on those, and it's like he wants so badly for people to really care about those characters, and for people to kind of shift focus and be like, it's not all about Art the Clown. But for people like me, I'm just watching it like, yes, it is all about Art the Clown, especially because all those other characters, all that other stuff isn't interesting. It's very contrived. It's stuff you've seen before. It's boring. The characters don't have a whole lot of depth. They're not interesting. That's how I feel about it, unfortunately. I know there are a lot of people out there who are big Sienna fans. They love that character. And I know Damien Leone is very big on that character. He loved when he came up with that character. I think he said that it was a character he wanted to write his entire life. So that's great for him, but I just feel like all that story stuff just gets in the way of what the film is, really. It's a stage for Art the Clown to be Art the Clown and showcase some great practical effects. So it ends up bogging it down, which leads me to my next thing, which is I think the pacing is poor with this film. So like I was kind of getting at, anything that's not involving a scene with Art the Clown, it's just overly long, it's slow, you're just like, okay, can we get through this? Because the story's just not that interesting at all. Let's get to the stuff that we're actually here for. Although I will say it is very impressive that Leone keeps coming up with all these very wild kill scenarios. I'm very impressed by that. I wonder if the well runs dry at some point, but at the moment, it seems like that is not happening. And if they do a fourth, I would assume that it's still not happening. So there you go. The ending to this is solid, but again, it's way too drawn out, going back to the whole pacing issue here. Runtime is entirely unwarranted for a film like this. It was 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's another thing I hit with Terrifier 2, is saying this is entirely too long for what this is as a film. this should be no longer than an hour and a half. It probably could be cut down even further, to be honest. But this is what Leone's doing. It's obviously fine because he's making plenty of money doing it. He's very successful, so rock on. You know, keep doing your thing, man. I'm all for it. So out of 5 stars, half stars, and play, I'm going to give Terrifier 3 a 3-star rating. A 3 for the third installment. But I would love to hear other people's opinions. I know some people even said this was one of their favorite movies of 2024. Go ahead and put it down in the comments. We can talk spoilers. That's totally cool. Do me a favor. Subscribe to my channel to show me some support. Thumbs up on the video to help me with that YouTube algorithm. You can hit the notification bell button one of those days, and then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. And if you want to pitch in a little bit monetarily, you can. There's a link for memberships down in the description, and it'll tell you for what small nominal fee each month what perks you get with the channel. But anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this, and until next time, keep it brutal.